Okay, so you know that feeling, right? You're gaming, almost there, and boom, it freezes. Or the movie buffers right at the best part.
Yeah. Super frustrating. Happens all the time.
Exactly. That's like a pretty common thing for a lot of us here in the US. But then you hear this news from China, specifically Sunan County in Hebei province.
Right. They've just switched on the world's first 10G broadband network. That's a collaboration between Huawei and China Unicom. Quite the headline.
It really is a huge contrast to what we generally experience. In this deep dive, we want to get into what this 10G thing actually means.
Yeah, unpack it a bit, especially, comparing it to the situation in the U.S. We've pulled together various reports and data points to look at.
Precisely. And it's not just about, downloading stuff faster, though that's part of it. We want to understand the real impact this kind of speed could have for you, the average user.
And the numbers themselves are, frankly, pretty staggering. We're talking potential download speeds getting close to 10 GBPs.
Almost 9,834 megapiece, to be precise.
Right. And uploads around 1 GBPs with latency down to just 3 milliseconds.
Mm-hmm.
That's powered by something called 50G PON technology.
Wow. Okay, so to make that real, think about downloading a 4K movie.
Yeah, on a decent gigabit connection here, maybe 7-10 minutes, something like that. With this 10G setup, they're saying under 20 seconds.
20 seconds. That's a whole different ball game. It really suggests a completely different kind of online experience is now, possible.
Definitely.
Okay, so let's ground this a bit. How does that compare to speeds here in the US right now, say for 2024, 2025?
Well, current average download speeds in the US are somewhere in the range of maybe 162 millipiece up to around 287 millipiece.
Right.
Uploads are quite a bit lower, maybe 18 millipiece to 52 millipiece on average, and latency usually somewhere between 12 and 35 milliseconds.
So decent, I guess, for what we do now, but yeah, absolutely miles away from that 10G number.
Miles away, and it's not just the US lagging behind this specific 10G launch.
Mm-hmm.
Even countries that usually top the global speed chart.
Like Singapore.
Exactly. Singapore averages around 336 milli apiece.
Yeah.
Places like the UAE, Hong Kong, they're fast, but still significantly slower than this 10G network.
It even puts China's own previous average, what was it, around 238 milli-dps?
Yeah, it puts that into perspective too. Shows how big a leap this specific deployment is.
It really does underscore the scale. But like you said, it's got to be about more than just faster downloads, right? What can you actually do with that kind of speed?
That's the key question, isn't it? The applications. This kind of speed could genuinely transform a few areas. Think about cloud computing.
Okay.
Access becomes faster, much more reliable. Feels more like using your local hard drive, maybe.
Yeah, I could see that.
And streaming. We talk about 4K, but this could make seamless 8K streaming even on multiple screens at once, just normal.
And VR, AR, that always seems to be the example.
Because it needs that instant response, right?
Yeah.
With 10G, you could get truly immersive VR and AR without the lag or motion sickness some people feel. Huge for gaming, obviously, but also education, training.
You mentioned that smart home trial in Iowa, Ames, I think.
Yeah.
They had 70 devices running smoothly.
Exactly. That shows just how much bandwidth our homes might need in the, not too distant future. All those connected gadgets.
Right. And what about things like healthcare?
Big potential there too. Telemedicine could feel much more immediate, like being in the same room. And with latency that low, remote surgery starts to sound less like science fiction.
Wow.
Plus, just moving massive medical files around high-res scans, MRIs could happen way faster, potentially speeding up diagnosis.
So, yeah, definitely not just about entertainment, real practical stuff. Education, other sectors.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Online learning could become much more interactive, maybe using some of that VRR tech. Agriculture, too. Precision farming, using real-time data feeds.
Okay.
Financial services, especially high-frequency trading, thrives on low latency. And yet for gamers, ultra-low latency basically means no lag. A huge deal for competitive play.
It's funny how quickly we forget how slow things used to be, thinking back.
Oh yeah, the dial-up days. That screeching modem.
Haha, exactly. Kilobits per second. Downloading one song took forever.
And then DSL and cable felt revolutionary, right? Always on, megabits per second, made basic streaming possible.
Then fiber optic pushed it further into the gigabit range.
Right, using light. Faster, more reliable. And now this 10G network is pushing speeds from gigabits per second towards 10 gigabits, that 5 MB song we mentioned. Minutes on dial-up, seconds on early broadband.
Instantaneous on 10G.
Pretty much. It's another one of those truly revolutionary leaps, like going from dial-up to broadband.
it's almost difficult to really grasp the implications. It makes you think about the internet's broader role.
Well, people have called it the town square for the global village, right? With 10G, that town square just got incredibly efficient, allows for much richer, faster interactions.
There was also that funny Douglas Adams quote, something like, "We are stuck with technology when what we really want is just stuff that works."
Huh. Yeah, that's a good reminder, too. It has to be reliable and easy to use, not just fast.
True. And all this is happening while digital usage is just exploding, isn't it? What are the numbers like globally?
They're pretty mind-boggling. We're looking at around 5.5 billion internet users now. Beginning of 2025, that's like, 69% of everyone on the planet?
Wow.
And the data created daily, something like 402 million terabytes. Every single day. Projections are hitting 182 zettabytes by the end of this year.
I can't even picture that amount of data.
It's astronomical. And a huge chunk of that traffic, over half, is video. People are spending, on average, about 6.5 hours online daily.
Often on phones, right?
Mostly on mobile, yeah. So this massive growing demand for bandwidth really highlights why faster internet isn't just a luxury. It connects to the economy, too.
How so? What's the link between speed and economic growth?
There's quite a bit of research suggesting a pretty strong link. Some studies show that doubling broadband speed can actually lead to a noticeable bump in a country's GDP. Yet the thinking is better connectivity helps businesses innovate, operate more efficiently, creates new opportunities. It's basically essential infrastructure now, like roads or electricity.
And we are seeing this 10G tech pop up in real-world tests, not just in China.
We are. There was that farming trial in Yuma, Arizona, using 10G fiber for, in-field wireless connectivity.
Interesting.
Cable Labs has this 10G challenge trying to spark innovation. And there have been demos showing real-time motion control over these super fast networks, showing off the low latency, plus lots of ongoing technical experiments pushing the speeds even higher.
Okay, so given all that potential, what's the conversation like here in the US about actually getting to 10G? Is everyone on board?
Well, that's where the debate really kicks in. There are definitely strong arguments for pushing towards it.
Like what?
Proponents will say, we need it for the next wave of tech, VR, AR, the metaverse, whatever that ends up being. Plus, think about all the smart devices in homes. The demand is only going up.
And the economic argument you mentioned.
Right? Potential for growth, new jobs, and improved reliability, low latency for critical stuff like healthcare or maybe even autonomous vehicles down the line.
Yeah.
Driving innovation generally.
Okay, makes sense. But what are the arguments against going full steam ahead on 10G right now?
The biggest one is probably cost. Upgrading the infrastructure across the entire U.S. with all its different geographies is a massive, massive investment.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Then there's the question of immediate need. Does the average person really need 10 GBps today for checking email and watching Netflix? Maybe improving the existing network is enough for now.
And the digital divide issue.
Exactly. A really important point. Should the focus be on getting everyone reliable, affordable, basic broadband first before pushing the top speeds even higher for some? There's a real equity concern there.
Plus, wouldn't people need new routers and stuff?
Yeah, consumers would likely need to buy new compatible hardware modems, routers, maybe even network cards to actually get those speeds, adding another cost layer.
So with China launching this and this debate happening here, does this put the U.S. at risk of sort of falling behind technologically?
That's definitely part of the discussion. The U.S. broadband landscape is getting better, but there are still big gaps, especially in rural areas. This 10G launch in China is a significant step beyond what's widely available commercially here.
So it raises questions.
It does. Questions about technological leadership, global competitiveness. The debate is really about the best path forward for the U.S. Do we try for a big 10G push now? Or is it a more gradual approach, focusing on wider access first and then increasing speeds? There isn't a clear consensus yet.
Okay, so let's try and wrap this up. The main takeaway seems to be that China's 10G network is a really significant technological jump.
A major leap, yeah, with potential that goes way beyond just faster streaming. It touches on so many future applications.
But here in the U.S., it's more complicated. There's this balancing act, right?
Yeah.
Between pushing the tech envelope
and the practical realities of cost and making sure everyone has decent access in the first place. Equity is a huge part of it.
It's a complex calculation.
Definitely. Lots of factors involved.
So maybe a final thought for you listening. As technology keeps accelerating and we rely more and more on being connected, what do you think will be the most critical factors shaping the future of the internet? Not just here, but globally. And what does that mean for your own digital life and maybe for society overall? Something to chew on.